Again, like I said at the top of the show, you may not be speaking from stage and you may want to speak from stage, but everybody here is a public speaker. Again, whether you're speaking in front of your coworkers, you're speaking in front of your family, you're speaking in front of whoever it might be, to become a more effective speaker, you have to know what it is that you're doing. And so I'm excited. I've known this gentleman for probably pretty close to a decade, I'm guessing. And he's a phenomenal speaker. He's based out of India. We've built a friendship, a brotherhood, and now he's disappeared. There he is. So hopefully he's ready to come on. Give me a thumbs up if you're ready to come on. Okay, he's ready to come on. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the Raw Unscripted show, Mr. Bishal Sarkar. How are you doing, Bishal?
All right, Christopher. How are you, brother?
It's I'm good. I'm fired up for this conversation. It's been a minute. I guess the only way I could get to catch up with you is to get you on my show.
I remember. Before we get started, I want to let everybody know, here's how. So we were scheduled to speak today, and I think we booked a couple of months ago. So Christopher sent me a voice note or a message via WhatsApp last week saying, brother, you ready? We're going live in 1 hour. I was like, did I miss the schedule? And so that's what he is. So Christopher, thank you so much for being a great friend and inviting me to your show. I know this is something that you're really passionate about, and the way you show up for your people with your messages, with your guests, with how consistent, like I think one word that comes to my mind when I think about you is consistent value creation. We have known each other for 11 years. I think the first time I appeared on your show was in 2013.
Back then, I think Kick-Ass Radio show.
Talk radio, right? So how you consistently have grown and how you have added value and had some of the best guests in the world, brother, I'm really proud to be here with you. So thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you. I actually went and checked back. I don't know if I put this in the WhatsApp notes, but you were on the show. I think it was, where did I put it? Where did my notes just go? I think it was in 2020. Where did I put that?
That was the second time I was in 2020, and before that,
April 14th, 2020. So it's been 4 years since we've done a show together, and that's pretty incredible. And I have to say about you, brother, is your constant dedication to your craft, to becoming the best in teaching people how to become a speaker, and really teaching more or less mindset. I mean, you're all about confidence and being able to get out of our own way and getting people to do the thing that a lot of people are afraid of is speaking on stages. And I'm not sure if you heard me or not, but when I opened up the show, I talked about the fact that we're all public speakers in one form or another. We're speaking in front of our coworkers. We're speaking in front of our family. What would it be like if we became more effective communicators? So my question to you first tonight is a huge question, overarching question. What do you want people listening and watching this conversation? What do you want them to walk away from this conversation tonight? What do you want them to know and to believe in their heart that they can do in their own life, or the message that you want to send them with?
What you said is absolutely right, that everybody is mastering and doing their public speaking, but you got to understand something. There is a difference between having a body and optimizing your body for results, right? Somebody can have a body versus somebody uses their body for great energy, great enthusiasm, great connection with people. And the same thing with your voice. Everybody has a voice. Everybody has the speaking ability. It's exactly about how you utilize it in order to do three things: imparting information, persuasion, and helping people make decisions. Now, I have helped people close millions of dollars of deals in just via presentation. I've also helped people overcome their stage fear. I've also helped people, like achieve financial freedom by being the best version of themselves. So I don't know what the reason is for you listening in right now, but I believe you're here because you have one of those three reasons. Number one, you want to have more happiness in your life, and that comes from expression. One of the reasons, Anupama was on a show just last week, and she talked about this thing in a podcast, which is most people are driven towards suicide is because they don't feel anybody's hearing them. There is a lack of feeling heard in the world. So that is one reason. It's you knowing that your voice matters, whether it's in front of a group in the boardroom, or just your friend circle, or your neighbors, your relatives. Imagine how much powerful you're going to be in your life if you knew your voice mattered, if you knew exactly that you had the ability to express your ideas in such a manner that people actually valued you for what you have to say. That's the first one. Second reason is, I think a lot of times people are stuck in their career not because of technical skills, but because of their lack of speaking and leadership skills. And in today's world, if you want to grow to the higher standard of life, if you want to have more eyeballs toward you, because the more visible you are, more profitable you are. So it doesn't matter if you're an entrepreneur, you're a corporate professional, leader, Christopher, as you know, most of the people that I work with are top-notch leaders and corporate professionals in the world. So it doesn't matter what you do, you will grow in your career as well if you master your communication skills. And the third thing is, it's going to give you the ability, like Warren Buffett calls it, the number one skills that one person requires, regardless of their field, to achieve financial freedom. So it doesn't matter if you're from marketing, you're from finance, you're in HR, you're an entrepreneur. This is going to give you the ability to turn your communication into cash flow in your life. So if you want these three things, we're going to talk about some strategies. But public speaking is not about just what you do on stage. It's who you're being on a day-to-day basis. And I think Emerson said lovely. He said, "Who you are speaks so loudly that I cannot hear what you say." So it starts with your being first, who you're being to yourself, who you're being to the audience, because it's not about just showing up and throwing up. It's not about showing up and just talking a lot. It's about building that connection. And we're going to talk some of those strategies today.
I love that. Thank you for kicking that off in such a way. There's a couple of things you said that I want to touch on. First thing I want to touch on is what I said before, is about fear, right? So many people are afraid to step into their greatness. They're afraid. I was talking about this with somebody the other day about them self-sabotaging themselves. And she goes, how do you know I'm self-sabotaging myself? And I said, because you're having this conversation with me and you just already said you've been trying to do this for the last 5 years. I said, something tells me that you're doing something to sabotage yourself because you don't feel that you're worthy, or you're afraid of that success. Talk to us about that. People are watching you and sitting there saying, wow, you have such a presence. Chris has such a presence. You guys seem to have that confidence. How can we help people, initially step into that confidence and step into their greatness when for so long in their life, they probably told them so many different negative things about themselves and why they can't do something? How do we get people to overcome that fear and step into that greatness that is unique to themselves?
Yeah. It's hard to be nervous when your heart is on service. The reason most people have a lot of fear before they're speaking is because they are stuck in their own head. What are people thinking about me? What do I have to say? What if I forget it's just me, 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 me. It's like, imagine there is a spotlight. The mental spotlight is always on me, the speaker.
Right.
What do you want to do with practices is mentally, before you speak, put the spotlight on the audience in your own mind, so that it's not about you. It's about them. It's not about what you say. It's about what they do. And this is, if you can make that shift, and of course we have some practical tools and techniques, physiological tools, some mental tools and imagination tools and NLP tools you can use. But the first thing to realize is it's never about you. It's always about the audience. Many times Christopher, people feel a lot of nervousness before they give a gift to somebody. Like, what if she doesn't like it? What if he doesn't like it? What will they think about? It's not about you. Stop being so selfish all the time, thinking about yourself. Public speaking is an art of giving your art away, giving your skill away, giving your knowledge away. Now, the thing is, I was talking to I was having a conversation with a friend just yesterday. She quit her job and she's, entering into an ed tech field. And she said that, I'm really loving it. I'm really loving it. I would love to do it for free, even if I had to. I said, here's the thing. I said, you love your work so much that you're willing to do it for free, but be so fucking good at it that you don't have to do it for free, that people will actually pay you. Right? So that combination is very, very important. So you fix nervous with service. That's one part. Second thing that's very important for you to understand is there is no replacement of practice. Now, I'm not talking about practice makes a man perfect, because practice does not make a man perfect. You need the right practice. Right? A lot of times, for example, people go to the gym and they're doing the wrong reps, the wrong exercise, their body's not getting improved. So you need the right tools, the right technique, the right passcode in order to know exactly how to do it. So a quick story about that. Once upon a time, there was a lady who was a fan of Picasso, and Picasso was in the marketplace, and she found him and says, "Mr. Picasso, I'm a big fan. Can you do a little bit of drawing for me? Can you just doodle something?" Picasso said, "Sure." And, he just created something in 30 seconds. And the lady said, "Oh my God, Mr. Picasso, this is so lovely. Thank you so much." And she started walking away. And Picasso said, "Dear lady, keep that paper up, because one day it's going to be worth $1 million. Picasso, that woman said, "Mr. Picasso, $1 million, it took you 30 seconds to do it." Picasso said, "It took me 30 years to do that in 30 seconds.
Right.
It took me 30 fucking years to do that in 30 seconds. Most times, people look at somebody like Christopher and say, "Oh my God, he's so spontaneous, he's so funny." Christopher, they don't see the fact the value that you have created for years and decades, and how many conversations you had to have with your clients, privately, with people, how many times you have to drive somewhere for 2 hours to deliver a 10-minute, 15-minute talks. They don't see how many times you have to prepare yourself to make sure you deliver the best value to people. The thing is, you fix nervous with service, and number two, you fix nervous with absolute rock solid preparation. If you do these two things in your life, nervousness is not going to exist. You're going to be a confident speaker and will absolutely add massive value to your audience.
I love that, Bishal. I love that. And it's really, you keyed on something that I was just sharing with somebody not too long ago. We were talking about fear, and they said, I always get scared, and I always get scared. And I'm like, have you ever been on a roller coaster? And like, yeah. And I said, what do you feel? Do you feel fear or do you feel excitement? And depending on the person I'm speaking with, a lot of times they'll say, I feel fear, but I also feel excitement. And I said, I've proven in my life that there's no real difference between fear and excitement. It's all about the perspective that we have and we're looking at it. So one time I was at here in Southern California at Six Flags Magic Mountain. I was standing in front of the biggest roller coaster at the time, which was Colossus. And in front of me, and this is when I was early on in my career, so I was like in my 30s, and in front of me, people were all excited. There was a group of kids, and they were like, oh my God, look at how tall that is. And look at the loop-de-loop. And where it's going to be, oh, look, it's going so fast. And I'm so excited to do this. Are we going to put our hands up in the air and da-da-da-da? And then the people behind me, there was not the direct group, but the group right behind them, they were sitting there going, oh my God, look how tall it is. And oh my God, how many loops are there? And oh my God, I wonder if there ever had any accidents and da-da-da. And so it was the same ride, the same time, but you had people with the perspective of like, oh my God, that's so exciting. And those people with the aspect of fear, but it's going to be the same experience. And that's what I invite people to do, is if you could shift your perspective about it and say, you know what, I'm no longer nervous. If we stop telling ourselves the negativity in our life, then we can start to produce different results. Talk to us about that self-talk. How do we get people to start rewriting the script of what it is that they tell them? They've been doing it for 20 years, 30 years, 50 years. My demographic is between 40 and 70 on this show. But how do we get people to rewrite that script, to have that faith and that belief, to be able to step into their greatness like you're talking about?
So I'm going to give an affirmation, a mantra I use myself before taking any powerful decisions in life. And in the last couple of weeks, I've been taking some rapid, powerful decisions in our business to grow and expand to a larger audience in the world, and it's going phenomenal. And I'm practically using what I'm going to talk about right now, and that is,
congratulations.
Since thank you. Since your audience is more about between the 40 to 70-year-old, it's a fact that they have a lot of new things that they have done that they don't give acknowledgement to themselves for. Sure. So the first thing to do is to create a list of things you have done that not only you're proud of, but things that at that time were new to you. Traveling to a different country, relocating to a different city, all the new things you have done. Yeah. The reason you want to do that is because when you give acknowledgement to yourself for the new things you have done, the fear of doing newer things now vanishes. And here's the affirmation and the mantra I want to give people. Christopher, I have always done new things. This is nothing new for me. I have always done new things, and this is nothing new for me. Many times people are not willing to take that leap, take that jump, because they think this is new for me. Well, when you look back and you see that, oh my God, I have done 55 different new things already in my life. And when I say new things, I'm not talking about small new things, like big new things. Maybe I've approached somebody for the first time. Oh, I did the corporate training for the first time, 12 years ago, blah, blah, blah. When you see all the new things you have always done, you see yourself as the person who's extending the existing behavior, and you're not starting a new behavior anymore. I've always done new things. This is nothing new for me. It's not new for me. I've always done new things. Vishal, we have not hired 25 people before. I know that. But this is nothing new for me. I've always done new things in other areas of my life. When you see yourself, because Christopher, I believe confidence comes from one thing. It's not some fake belief. It's not emptiness. Confidence comes from evidence. Confidence comes from evidence. When you look into the past and you see evidence that you have already done that, and if you're an experienced professional, you have taken many actions. The thing is, Christopher, most times people look at the negative evidences. Oh, that time I tried, and look for the evidences that actually make you feel more confident. Because I'm going to tell you something right now. Your brain is supposed to make you feel like a failure. I'm going to prove it to you. So, Christopher, think about it. What do you think is the number one job or number one role of the brain? Your brain is supposed to keep you what?
Safe.
Safety is the number one thing that the brain wants to check this out. So safety. Everybody wants to have more success in life. Let's call it reward. So no dash, no reward. What is the dash for people generally?
Say that again.
No dash, no fill in the blank, no reward. What is in the dash? What is in the blank?
No hard work.
No hard work, or no risk, or no new things.
There you go.
We want to take risk. We want to do the work, and that gives the reward. Now check this out. Brain wants you to have safety. Safety is exactly the opposite of risk. Safe, failure, risk, reward. That means you have to reprogram your brain not to stay in the safe zone, but to actually deep dive into the risky zone. You have to reprogram yourself to take the risk, because as Robin Sharma said, the real risk is living a risk-less life. So it's important for you. So, sometimes people might tell you that, what if I'm afraid? Well, if you're scared, do it scared. Scared is how you feel. Courage is what you do. Courage is not absence of fear. Courage is looking dead in the eyes of the fear and saying, I'm afraid, but I'm going to do it anyway. That's how you strengthen your muscle of confidence and power, not just in speaking, but in your decision making. Many times I've had this conversation with a friend recently. He was telling me, Bishal, I'm afraid to take this leap of faith. I'm afraid to take this step. The thing is, he's telling me for the last 7 years, not 7 days. Same loop. People stay in the same loop for years and years and years and years and years.
It's true.
And when I reminded him of the fact that he has been telling me for this last 7 years, he realized, holy fuck, I just wasted 7 years of my life. And there is nothing wrong in having some tough realization, but it's very important for you to understand that if you don't do anything new, your life is going to be same. If life is going to be old, if your life is going to be that average, if you want to have the life of 3% top level people that they have, you have to take action that way. That's the only way to grow. So you have to surround yourself with great people like Christopher. You want to have some great friends in your life, but at the same time, it shouldn't be that you're just doing mental masturbation in your life. You're just listening to good stuff and you're not doing anything in your life. Only when you take step, it's an evidence in your life that something powerful is absolutely possible. I'll give an example. So last night I slept late. So it's morning for me right now. Slept late, and I was a little tired after waking up this morning. So many times what people do is, when they're tired, when they're afraid, when they're blah, 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 they don't do the things that they're scheduled to do. Right? Okay, can I reschedule that? Can I do it some other time? So here's one thing I've learned from Hormozi. He said, on the days when you're tired, on the days when you don't feel like it, on the days when you're afraid, if you can still do it, it's an evidence for the future. Because in future, when you have a tough day, it's an evidence that when I was tired, when I was afraid, I did it. That means I can do it now. That's why I've always done new things. This is nothing new for me. I've always done the thing when I was tired. This is nothing new for me. I was always done the thing when I was afraid. This is nothing new for me. And I think people have already done that. If they just create a Google Doc or a document and they write down all the times they took some new action in the areas of their health, or relationship, or career, or finance, or focus, or friendship, or adventure, they see, oh my God, I have a golden list in my life that I did not take advantage of because I was having that negative self-talk that I'm not good enough. What if I fail again? What if something wrong happens? The thing is, something wrong is about to happen. That's absolutely fine. What if it's okay? What if it's okay for you to have something wrong happen and still keep moving forward? Christopher did not have all his podcasts every time perfect, but he kept moving forward. That's why he's one of the best in the world. So it's not about perfection, as I say in public speaking. It's about connection. So you connect yourself, you make progress, and radical transformation can happen for people.
I love that. You touched on so many things. I want to grab a couple of them. Sure. But I want to also just remind people that, like you just talked about, the fact that so many people want to stay safe. They want certainty. And when I invite people to sit there and consider, like, when in your life have you grown the most? When things were safe and certain, or when things were uncertain and catastrophic? And so many times we can look back on our life and say, wow, I went through this experience. I went through this divorce. I went through this firing. I went through this reorganization. I went through this health scare. And from that, what did I learn? how did you grow? And so I tell people, like, when you think about that, the hero's journey, which I've talked about here on the show so many times, the Joseph Campbell story. If you guys have never heard about it, you guys can go look it on YouTube. It's called the Joseph Campbell story, the hero's journey. It's about an hour and 23 minutes. It's phenomenal for you to realize that we're all going through that hero's journey. And when we get comfortable being uncomfortable and putting ourselves in those situations, that's when we learn and grow the most. And we can ask ourselves every single day, what's my intention? To stay safe and complacent, stay mediocre? Or is my intention to push myself outside of my comfort zone and be able to grow and challenge myself? And so when I think about what you're saying, I think about it in terms of this. My word for the year, I always have a word for the year. My word for this year is proud or pride. And I thought about it. I'm like, why is that so important to me? And I think about it when I go to sleep at night, just to let everybody know and let you know, when I wake up in the morning, I say what I'm grateful for, and I say what my intentions are. So I'm grateful for my son sleeping in the room next to me. I'm grateful for this, that, grateful for this. And then I set my intention. My intention is to use my words and my actions to make this world a better place. My intention is to take risks in my daily life that's going to push me further to make a bigger impact in the world. My intention is this. My intention is that. And so when I go to bed at night, I have a small, actually, it's kind of like this. I just keep little small booklets. You get them at the 99-cent store or whatever. And I keep a small booklet there.
What does that say?
Oh, this one says grandma's notes. So I got it at the 99-cent store.
Oh, okay.
This one has daily blessings. So I keep little books everywhere. Like if I'm having a moment where I'm not feeling so great or so I flip it open. I'm like, oh my God, look at all these blessings I've had in my life. So this one I keep in here for daily blessings. The one I have by my bed is pride and gratitude. So my intention every single day is that I'm going to do something throughout the day that I'm going to be proud of, so that when I'm sitting here by my bed at tonight, I can write down what that thing I took pride in, or what I'm proud of in that particular moment. So every single day, 365 days a year, if I'm doing 1 to 5 things that I'm proud of, how much am I growing? And so again, I'll give the example, then I'm going to ask you this question. Like I love doing this for people. Like, look around your room. Everybody is listening and watching. I mean, if you're driving, don't do this. But if you're in your room, look around and tell me everything that's red. That's red. That's red. That's red. That's red. That's red. I'm actually pointing to things that are red. That's red. That's red. That's red. That's red. That's red. That's red. Okay, Chris, I got everything that's red. I got everything that's red. I'm like, okay, tell me what was blue. And then everybody goes, what the fuck, Chris? You just told me to focus on what was red. It's called the reticular activation system. I'm sure you're aware of it, but for people who are watching and listening, it's very, very powerful. Like you go test drive a car, then all of a sudden you see that fucking car everywhere because your mind is tuned into it. Your mind is keyed into that. Same thing. I program my mind every single morning to focus on what I'm grateful for. I don't watch the news. I don't focus on politics. I don't do any of that shit. I focus on what I'm grateful for. And then I set the intention of what it is that I'm going to accomplish that day, with the intention in mind that I'm going to write down something I'm proud of at the end of the day. And that's what I do. So when people are sitting there thinking about, if you're watching the news and you're focusing, oh, today's going to be a shitty day, you start writing that script for yourself. And guess what? Your mind will find the evidence to find out that it's a shitty day. Oh, geez, I just stubbed my toe. Oh, geez, blah, blah, blah. This happened, and this happened, and this happened. Then what do? We get to the end of our day and we tell our spouse about all the shitty things that happened all that day. And then we continue to, like you said, repeat that cycle. And so I'm inviting people to sit there and change what it is that you're working on, change what it is that you're focusing on. You're going to get different results. My question for you is, we're talking about the words that we say to each other, and we say to ourselves. I mean, more important, the words we say to ourselves. For me, I tell people to eliminate 3 words: always, never, and try. I always screw it up. I can never find the right person. I'll try to do better. What are some words that you invite people to eliminate from their vocabulary that helps them become more unstoppable and more confident?
Oh, first of all, I love that. Always, never, and try. Yeah, always, never. So in NLP, they call it deletion, distortion, and generalization, right? So always and never are part of that generalization. You're generalizing stuff like I always do it when we don't, or distorting by saying you never do it. So I love that. And try. I think
powerful
3 words that
I'll try. I'm like, I'll try to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I'll try to do this. I'll try. Fuck that. Just do it or don't. Just shut up and stop telling yourself you're going to try. You're either going to do it or you're not. That's the end the whole game. You're either going to do it or not. Don't fucking try. Just do it. So what are the words for you that you have found in your experience of teaching people how to have confidence on stage and just having a more kick-ass life? Because I know you do more than that. What are some words that perhaps people they get into a trap with themselves?
The first word is later. 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 I'm going to do it later. Everybody's favorite time to exercise later. Everybody's favorite time to take that decision later. So now it's not the right time. I'm going to do it later. I'm going to do it later. I'm going to do it later. And think about it, Chris. So many times People keep saying later and later and later, and that's why. And not only a year, a decade passes by, and you know what happens to a lot of people? Imagine this for a second if you're listening. Imagine you are 60, 65, 70, 75, whatever, and you're on your deathbed, maybe in a hospital on a 13th floor of a building, and you know that you're dying, and you know that you wanted to travel the world, you wanted to do many things, you wanted to speak, you wanted to share your message, and now you open the window and you see all the people at your age on the road who are your age, who are old too, but they're doing stuff, they're moving, they're improving, they're changing lives, and you are here in the hospital. You always wanted to travel, you also wanted to contribute, but the reason you couldn't do it is because you were busy making excuses, saying, I'm going to do it later.
Yeah.
You always wanted
Someday.
to travel, but you couldn't do it. Someday. I'm going to do it someday. I'm going to do it later. And now you're dying with a heavy heart and depression, knowing that you had the opportunity, but the time is gone. The opportunity is over. The game is over. Now you must die with a heavy heart and regret. Chris, is there any bigger regret than that for people?
Mm-mm. The
I
Five
believe
Regrets
that
of
is
the
the
Dying
biggest
is a
regret one can have.
powerful fucking book.
Yeah. So that regret is something that stops people from saying later. So the first word is later. I'm going to do it later. I'm going to do it later. The second word is but. You can bring the best of the
Mm.
best solution, because to the excuse maker, they will always find a but. There will always a but. There is always a but. There is always a but. So but is the second word that a lot of people use in order to stay stuck. So I'm going to tell a quick story about that, if that's okay with you. It's not my personal story. It's a
Absolutely.
story that I tell my coaching clients all the time on the power of but. Right. So there were two friends. Dennis says, hello from China. I don't think of a red car. Hey,
Don't
Dennis.
think of a purple cow,
Um,
Dennis. Don't think of a purple cow.
don't think of a purple cow. Yeah.
Nope.
By the way, Purple Cow is a powerful book by Seth Godin. So it's a beautiful
Yep.
thing on branding and how to differentiate yourself.
That's
Right.
what made me think of it.
So there were two friends in India. They were from a small village, and they wanted to, get rich one day. So friend one went to friend two and said, hey, can you save up some money? For what for? Well, let's buy a cow, because you said purple cow, right? So let's buy a cow. And
Look at
what
that.
we're gonna do is that we're gonna buy a cow, we're gonna milk the cow, we're gonna sell the milk. And the second friend said, then what? So we're gonna sell the milk and we're gonna save the money, sell more milk, save more money, and then we'll have a second cow and third cow, and we're gonna be rich one day. And the second friend said, yeah, that sounds all right, but let me talk to my wife about it. And at night, he said, well, wifey, I'm going to put some money, 50% of my money, and we're going to buy some cows and we're going to sell the milk and we're going to be rich, blah, blah, blah. And the wife said, well, all that is right, but what if you buy the cow and the cow dies? Then all the money is wasted. He said, yeah, that's a fair point. I haven't thought about it. So next morning, the friend came and he said, well, this sounds all good, but I can't do it. My wife said, well, what if the cow dies? So the first friend said, okay, no problem. You hear two passes by, and then one day, this friend and his wife, they were in the marketplace, and they see a big milk shop open in the marketplace, and everybody, hundreds of people are rushing. They're buying stuff, they're buying sweets, they're buying paneer, they're buying different beverages from there, and it's owned by the first friend. So he went to the friend and said, man, you became rich. How did that happen? He said, well, I just bought the cow and I sold the milk and, saved money and more milk and saved more money and got the second cow and third cow and fourth cow and blah, blah, blah. I have a entire cattle right now. I have this shop. And the second friend said, well, you are lucky. You bought the cows and everything happened for you. Why could I not do it? The first friend said, because your cow died the first day I shared the idea. Your cow
Mm.
died before you even started. But is a powerful excuse for a lot of people. If you give people a lot of solution, they will always come up with an excuse that why this is not going to work. And that's why they create a success suicide in their life. So number one, later, and number two, but, and the third is what if? What if I fail? What if it
Yeah.
doesn't work out? What if people think wrong thing about me? They're afraid of rejection. And I often tell people all the time that, you know, learn to reframe that. It's not rejection, it's redirection. It's not
Mm-hmm.
rejection, it's redirection. Somebody says no to you, so what? It doesn't matter. Go to somebody else. Whether it's asking for business, it's asking a woman out. I've seen this all the time, Chris, like in India and in US too. A lot of hot, attractive women are accompanied by ugly guys, ugly men. And you know why? Because he did not have fear of rejection. He went
Right.
ahead and said, would you like to be my girlfriend? Would you like to marry me? All the handsome men out there had the fear of rejection. So
Right.
the people who don't have that fear of rejection, they just go ahead and just take the shot. They ask the girl out, they run the ad, they shoot the shot. Why? Because they have the desire. Their desire for success is more important. They have the what if too. It's like they don't say what if something bad happens. Their self-talk is what if I do it and actually it does work? What if I ask for it and it does work? What if they say yes? What if I
Right.
want to give that speech? What if I want to give the TED talk and send a message and people actually say yes? What's going to happen? Next month I'm giving a TED talk, for example, in India, in Pune. And for years I said no. Many times people are approached by saying, "Hey, would you like to give a TED talk at our company, at our organization, in our college?" I said, "No, no, no, I'm not about that." But now I think, what if I give a
Why'd
TED
you
talk
say
and
no? Because I had in my notes that I noticed that you were going to be doing a TED talk. People have asked me about doing it, and I said no, it's not the right time.
right? I have said that too for
I
years. I
know when
think
it's
for 9 years right now. And then I realized it's time. It's time for me to expand on that message. And when the time comes, the time comes. I have a burning message inside me about 9 excuses most people make that hold them back from being successful in life, and I want to do it. So it's all about your priorities. It's not about rejection, it's about redirection. So the 3 words are later, but, and what if.
Mm, I love that. So so let me jump right into that. What are the top excuses that you find that you help people overcome? Because obviously I'm the no excuses coach and I love talking about that. What are some of the excuses that you get from people, and how do you help them overcome them?
The first one is I don't have time.
Oh yeah. Number one.
I don't have time for XYZ. I don't have time to do this. And there are two kinds of I don't have time. There is like I don't have time on a day-to-day basis. And then there is I don't have time as in I'm in a different phase of life. So the timing is not perfect. Yeah, it's bullshit. Like
Mhm.
it's absolutely bullshit. The time is now, because the more you wait, the more difficult it becomes for you to take action in your life, right? So the timing is always right if you want to do something about it. The second one I think is big one is I don't have
How
money.
do people find more time? Because I love that conversation. I love having that conversation. I'll give you an example. I was talking with a prospective client the other day, and she said, "I don't have time." And I said, "Well, talk to me about your day from the time you wake up till the time you go to bed." And she started talking about this, that, and the other thing. And she said, "Well, I got to make the kids lunches. I got to do the laundry. I got to clean up the house. I got to do the, I got to. And I said, "How many things do you have to do versus you get to do?" And she says, "Oh, I have to do a lot of stuff." And I said, "Okay." I said, "How old are your kids?" She said, 9, 13, and 18. And I said, "Okay." I said, "You ever heard about getting hit by the proverbial bus?" And she said, "Yes." And I said, "What happens if you get hit by the proverbial bus tomorrow, are you telling me that your kids won't go to school with lunch? You telling me your husband's going to go to work with stinky underwear? You telling me that nobody's ever going to come over to the house because they're never going to clean it up?" I said, "What's going to happen? Honestly, what would happen?" She goes, "Well, they would have to do it. They'd have to figure it out." And I said, "Have you ever had the conversation with your family to ask for more time? Have you ever asked them to participate and help you? Perhaps, you start the laundry, they fold the laundry. You do clean up a part of the house." I said, "Have you ever had that conversation with anybody?" She goes, "No." She goes, "I just know that they won't support me." And I said, "You're already predetermining in your mind that it's not going to work." And I said, "You've kept yourself in this small little place." I said, "What happens? What's the possibility?" I love the word perhaps. What's the word of what's perhaps the greatest thing that can happen if you sit down with your family and say, "Hey, listen, mom needs 2 hours a day. Mom wants to start her own business. Mom has been depressed. Mom has been anxious. Mom has been this and that and the other thing." She goes, "Oh my God." She goes, "I don't know. That sounds scary." And I said, "But what happens if it actually comes true?" And so I gave her the initial task. I said, "I tell you what, here's what it's like to work with me." I said, "I'm going to make you do stuff that you want to do that most likely is going to turn out way better than you thought it was going to." And so I gave her the assignment. 2 days later, she messaged me. She couldn't even wait for the call that we had. She goes, "Oh my God, Chris, they said yes." And I said, "How?" And I said, and then she uttered the words that I hear all the time. "I wish I would have done it sooner. I wish I would have done
Sooner.
it sooner."
Yeah.
So what do you recommend to people to find more time? Because I have found probably 97% of the time people are just mismanaging their time, making themselves busy to give themselves the excuse of why they can't do something. So how do you help people redirect their attention and their time?
So 2 tips about that. Number one, first of all, like when you actually evaluate your time, you're gonna find out that you spend hours a day in 3 things: overthinking, social media, and procrastination. If you
Yep.
eliminate these 3 things, you actually get more time automatically. It's kind of like,
Mm-hmm.
right. So work with a coach who's gonna help you overcome the procrastination. You're overthinking. On average, Christopher, on average, a corporate professional wastes around 3.9 hours a day in overthinking, unconsciously overthinking. That's 4 hours of overthinking overthinking before making a call, overthinking before starting the project. They're getting ready to get ready for the
Everything's got
Pomodoro
to
for
be
the 25
perfect,
minutes. They're
right?
not doing it actually.
It's got to
Was
be
that?
perfect. It's got to be perfect.
Gotta
That's
be
why they're
perfect.
overthinking.
I have
Yeah.
to have the perfect temperature. I have to have the perfect line. I have to. They're wasting time. That's the first thing. So that's the first step. You gotta eliminate what's already not working so that you already have time. Is that you're wasting in the wrong direction. Second thing, I want everybody to understand that everybody's busy. Jeff Bezos is the busiest person in the world. If you just call him and say, hey, I want to meet you for 10 minutes, and say, I don't have any time. But if Christopher calls him and says, listen, I have an idea I'd like to share with you. It's going to help you. I have a friend of mine named Bishal. It's going to help Amazon. It's going to help your company expand and make sure that it reaches an extra billion people in the next 3 years. Do you have time for me? Jeff Bezos says, yeah, go on. Come on in. I have all the time. It's not about time. It's about priority. We always make time for something that's important to us. If it's a billion people, $1 billion, $1 million, billions of love, it's not that you don't have time for it. It's just that you don't want it. So prioritization is very important. You have to eliminate a couple of stuff, maybe TV, maybe phone, and find time. So time is an absolutely bad excuse. Does that make sense to you, Christopher?
Oh, 100%. Oh, yeah.
I think the second excuse is I don't have money. This is a reframe that I have a lot of times for people. It's like, imagine for a second that I have a Lamborghini and it's 5 crore rupees, 5 CRs, almost $1 million. No, $1 million is 8 CR, so about $750, 750K. Lamborghini, and somehow I have to go to USA and I'm permanently relocating there. I can't take this car, so I'm selling this car for just $50,000 in India. I tell people, like, imagine for a second that you don't have any money. You have to buy it in 24 hours. And after that, taking the car, you can sell it for any value that you want. You can sell it for 250, 350, but you're just going to give me $50,000. It's all paid for. Would you buy? Yeah, I'll buy it. Mm-hmm. It's worth $750,000. So you're telling me that because the value is $750,000, you're not going to come up with any excuse for bringing up $50,000. Yes. Is that because you can see the payment? You can't come up with the payment because you can see the payoff. In your life, when you see the payoff, you are willing to pay any price because the vision is clear. Many times people are not willing to make the payment in life. They say, I don't have money because they don't have a metaphorical Lamborghini that they're actually getting with that price they're paying in their life.
It's all about leverage.
And if you don't have leverage, you are average.
Yes.
If you don't have leverage, you're going to take average decision making in your life. So, like, you'll be astonished to know, Christopher, people inside our program, like we have a program called Elite Transformation Mastermind. It's not cheap, right? People pay between 45 to 65 lakhs rupees to get into that program. I often tell people, like, why do you want to join? Like, I'm talking about from evidences. We have seen people who sold their land, people who have sold their jewelry, taken loans, doing weird stuff in life that average society will call weird, in order to be resourceful. And I don't tell them that. They do it. They became resourceful in order to get inside the program. One person, they sold their entire jewelry. I said, why are you doing it? He said, Bishal, I have the first and the only chance right now in my life to invest in myself at such a high standard because of the people that you have curated, and not just you as an individual, as the mentor, but the group that you have created. This is my chance to thrive. How can I not do it? Right. Please do not stop me from affording this program right now. I don't have the money for it, but I'm going to arrange for it by doing stuff, by selling stuff and being, taking loans, selling insurance, whatever the people need to do. And you know what I see, Christopher? Those people who are resourceful, who find ways to arrange the fund, they're the most successful people in the program.
Yep.
They're the most successful people in the program because they know what they're bringing in. And I often tell this, how you enter the program is exactly going to determine how much value you get from the program. If the 45 lakhs was a drop in the bucket, which it is for a lot of people, it's like easiest thing, you take it casually. But if it's a stretch, it's a guarantee that you're going to be successful in the program because you're actually paying attention. Because the more you pay, the more you pay attention. So money is an excuse. Not having money is always an excuse for people. And you find money by understanding what is the payoff for me. And I often tell people all the time, the money is going to get spent anyway in 12 months. You either pay in trial and error or you pay a coach. You're already paying with money. You're paying with money or time. Either you pay with time for 30 years, 40 years of struggle, or you pay a coach for 1 year and you get the same results. And if you get the same results in 1 year, then you save the 29, 39 years, whatever. And I often ask people, you're already paying with time for the last 10, 20 years. How is that working for you?
Yeah, that's one of my favorite questions to ask people. And I love what you just said, Bishal, is it's a fact about being resourceful. I just used the same thing on somebody the other day. I was talking to them about working with one-on-one with me, and they said, Chris, if I had $10,000, I'd be in a totally different place. And I said, okay. I said, I'm going to go dark. So I think about being resourceful in ways of going dark. And I said, who's the most important person in your life? And she said, my son. And I said, how old's your son and what's his name? She goes, he's 10 years old. His name's Ethan. And I said, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being absolute, what would you do for Ethan? She goes, 10. She goes, hands down. I said, would you take a bullet for Ethan? She goes, absolutely. And I said, so you're telling me that Ethan is the most important. You would actually do anything to make sure Ethan is safe, right? She goes, yes. I said, okay, I'm going to go dark for a second. I'm going to go dark. I said, but you're going to walk in the door tomorrow afternoon. And I said, your son's going to be sitting in that front foyer, and there's going to be a person standing there with a 9mm pistol to Ethan's head. And you're going to walk in and you're going to go, oh my God, what the hell is going on? And he's going to say, hey, listen, lady, you got to come up with $10,000 in 7 days, and it can't be illegal, immoral, or unethical. I said, what do you do? And I've done this, Bishal, with hundreds of people. Every single person, without a doubt, without hesitation, without stammering, says I would figure it out. Marie Forleo wrote a book. It's called Everything is Figure Outable. It's a phenomenal book about resourcefulness, about finding that, like you said, if somebody came up to me and said, hey, Chris, I got a Lamborghini for sale. It's, $250,000. You have to get it. Fuck, I would find $250,000. I would find a way to find $250,000. It's about that desire. It's about having that leverage. And so when I asked this lady, I said, what would you do? And she goes, well, I've got some baseball cards I would sell. I got some jewelry I could sell. I've got this I could do. I would probably find, somebody I could borrow money from. And she came up with like 7 different things. And I said, okay. I said, you would figure it out. I said, the same thing applies. I said, if this is that important to you, and not to just look at what the expense is, but what the investment is, because if you're looking at it as an expense, of course, your brain's going to go to the negative. I said, but if you're looking at this as an investment, how much different would your life be if you no longer had excuses, if you no longer tolerated bullshit from yourself, from other people, and from inanimate objects? What would it be like if you took chances every single day and you improve yourself? Like I said at the top of the show, you take 3 strategies from the show, you multiply that over a period of time. There's 52 weeks in a year. How many strategies is that going to improve, and how much is that going to make you feel more comfortable being uncomfortable? And so I think that's what we're talking about. We're already 48 minutes into the show, which I can't even believe. My last question for you, and I think it's an important one, so I want to give it a little bit of time, is so many people are struggling to find somebody they can be like, right? I want to be like Chris. I want to be like Bishal. I want to be like this. And my invitation to people so often is, be the best you that you could possibly be. Your uniqueness. Like, obviously, I'm a very unique individual. I had somebody recognize me from YouTube in the grocery store the other day. She goes, are you on YouTube? And I said, yeah. As a matter, I don't know if you saw my YouTube post or my Facebook post where I did that. I walked in there and I was talking to them about my podcast, and the lady said, she goes, you're on YouTube, aren't you? And I said, absolutely. She goes, yeah, you're very unique looking. And we had this whole conversation. I actually gave them, I walked back out to my truck and I gave them wristbands, this whole thing. And, but the power of me being and owning who I am. You knew me when I was a suit and tie speaker, when I was holding my hands in a little triangle pose and saying, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about motivation today. And then I came out of a multi-speaker event and I looked around the room. We're all wearing the same fucking tie, the same suit. We're saying the same shit. We're selling the same stuff. If I'm going to do this and I'm going to suck at it, I'm going to be me. And you know me, I've been way more successful in being me. What advice do you have for people to own who they are? Because that is half the battle. When you get comfortable in your own skin and owning who you are, your unique selling proposition to this world. What makes Bishal unique? What makes Chris unique? What makes Dennis unique? Hey, we've got Lauren Harris in the house. What's up, Lauren? Good to see you. How are we, baby? What advice do you have for people to step into their greatness by simply acknowledging, accepting, and loving who they are in these moments? Because I believe in my heart of heart, and I've seen it happen so many times. When we step into the greatness of who we are and we stop tolerating that bullshit of trying to be somebody else or trying to fit into somebody else's perspectives, that's when the shift really starts to happen. So what advice do you have for people?
Before the advice, I'd like to share why people don't be that authentic version of themselves. So, Chris, when I was 12-year old, I was at an uncle's house and there was an event. I forgot about what it was about. My mother was there, my father, and everybody else. And I wanted to stand on the table and play. And I had a cousin who was 25-year-old at that time. He said, get down from the table. And being the 12-year-old kid, I was playing. And before I knew I was on the floor, he slapped me so hard in front of everybody that I fell from the table onto the floor. And when I fell on the floor, I just looked at my mother, thinking that she's going to say something, she's going to protest. In that moment, she did not. Looked at my father, he did not protest as well. When coming home that day, I was asking my parents, I was asking my mother, Ma, why didn't you say anything? Why didn't you protest against my cousin brother? And she said, Shall, it's okay. They are elders. We must not say anything back to them. Do you understand what kind of a fucking programming was encoded into my brain that day?
Oh yeah.
I became voiceless for years, Chris. Voiceless. I felt valueless. I felt helpless because the programming that was entering into my mind is okay. If somebody's saying something, you don't speak up, you don't protest, you don't question, you just accept whatever comes to you. And then when I went to school and college, guess what? I was looking for more evidences that I must accept whatever is being told to me. I didn't question. Long story short, that took me a lot of time to break that mindset. But more than mindset, it actually required me to heal myself and heal my heart. So
Yeah.
the first step I believe somebody needs before they become themselves fully is to heal that broken version of you that is still playing that game inside.
Yeah.
As Tony Robbins says, heal the boy and the man will appear. The reason Christopher is so well and so powerful, so polished being himself and so memorable, it's because he has healed his heart. And I'm sure it's a constant work. You're still healing many ways, just like I
Oh yeah.
am. It's important for you to find out what is holding me back. It's not some random motivation where you watch something and you read a book and you think, oh my god, from today I'm just going to be myself, I'm going to be yeah, you can feel that for a few hours and you feel tired. But if you just go back to that moment in your life, what happened, what stopped me, who told me something, where was the programming that happened, and if you delete the
Right.
programming, after that anything is possible because now it's an empty space, right? So I believe that in order for you to be a fucking phenomenal speaker and a powerful leader in your life who's dominating in all 8 areas, one thing that's very important is to heal the broken past. Heal what's stopping you, whether it's your I think I call it the penam, penam. Let me see if I can actually get it out of my head instantly. So there is parents, um, educational institution, neighbors, association, pena. So pena. So there are four levels of programming. So your parents are programming you or programmed you in the past. Your
Right.
educational institutions, schools, teachers, friends programmed you in some way. And for neighbors, what you saw around in the neighborhood that programmed you. And association, who you hung out with, that programs you. If you can find out what was the programming that happened to you in terms of whether it's money as well, not just yourself, your money, your time, your relationship. If you find out the negative things and work with a coach who's going to help you heal those stuff, after that anything is possible. And that's when you become a master and you achieve 10 years of success in 1 year by doing it.
Hmm.
So Pena.
So true. So true. We got Brenda in the house. What's up, Brenda? Thank you so much for being here. We got Michael Baker in the house. Thank you for being here. He says, always be true to you. 100%. We got Darlene Eaton in the house. What's up? She says, hey, friends. Dennis Nermella says, don't say if only. Yeah, huge, huge, huge. Man, this has been such a powerful conversation with you. I knew this was going to fly by. Michael Baker says also here, he goes, make the commitment to you and follow through on what is it you say you intend to do. Not sure when you came into the conversation, Michael, but we were talking about intentions a little bit earlier. And Michael also says here, the chaos and confusion we create in our own minds. 100%. When we clean that up, it's amazing what can change. My friend, this has been a phenomenal conversation. I could talk to you for hours and hours and hours, but I try to keep it always to an hour. Where can people get more information about you? I didn't get a chance to ask you this before, but we've got your website up there. Where can people get a hold of you? Where do you want to direct them to? And any final thoughts you want to say to everybody?
Yeah, they can just go to bishalsarkar.com and find more and connect with me if they want. I believe that more than them going to a website, what I really want is I want people to actually keep listening to the Kick-Ass Guide to Life, the Christopher Rasch's show, because I think the value that you bring is fucking phenomenal. Listen, I come here because of our friendship. You know that very well. I know many times people say, hey, go to podcasts and pitch. I don't do that at all because for me, it's like your home that I'm coming to. And just, thank you for inviting me here and helping me spread my message to your audience. But yeah, bishalsarkar.com is a good place. But one thing that's very important for people to understand is what Chris said at the beginning of the show. Write down the 3 action steps and follow that. If you do that, and even if you don't go to any other podcast, if you don't come to my website, I'll be still very fucking happy because knowing that you took some action. That is very, very important for me. So, Christopher, thank you so much for having me here.
You are welcome. Don't go anywhere so I can still talk to you after this because I definitely want to catch up. It's one of the ways I can nail you down some of these times because you're so freaking busy. But thank you.